Hello, everyone. Today we're presenting our group project for recipes and reviews. So we find a very interesting data that contains almost like 10,000 recipes with cooking time and hours and ingredients, etc. And there's another review data add to it, and we're going to analyze it today. And our group member has Baiquan, me, Yuan, and Yue and Yining. And here we go. And our total will be simple three section. The first one will be the data cleaning, and there's data analysis, and there's will be a visualization part. And also the visualization will also contain a decision tree, a machine learning part. Thank you.
Hello everyone, I'm Yue Ma. Let me introduce the part of data cleaning. We have two tables, one is about recipes and the other is about reviews. Let's talk about the recipes table first. This is the initial data of recipes. It contains 10 columns and many rows. We adjusted 6 of the 10 columns. First is the review count column. Since the reviews table didn't include all the reviews of each recipe, we deleted the initial review count column and generated a new one after merging the two tables. You will see this process later in another part of this presentation. Next is the three columns about time. You can see there are letters M, H, which means minutes and hours. Actually, it even includes the letter D in some rows, which means day. This string type of data are hindrance to our analysis. So we define a function to transfer the unit to minute. Then we apply the function to the three columns. The following is what we get. Thirdly, we retrieved cooking methods from the direction column. We defined a list to include all cooking methods and searched in each row of the direction column to see if it contains certain cooking methods. Similarly, we defined a function to realize this process. This function can help us get a string of cooking methods shown in each row of the directions. Here is the result. Of course, we can also see there are lines in which there is no particular cooking methods. And the following is an example. Last, we try to retrieve ingredients from the ingredients column. I have to say it is the most challenging part of our work. We want to know if it contains ingredients like tomatoes, eggs, milk, and so on. So in the beginning, we searched on the internet to download a list of ingredients in TXT, just like what we did in homework 1. I mean, the positive words and negative words list. However, what we found were either incomplete that didn't include all ingredients shown in the table or too redundant to be useful. For example, we only want to know if the recipe needs milk. We don't care whether it needs full milk or half milk or other kind of milk. And also, the more complicated the list is, the harder it is to analyze our ingredients. So again, we defined a function to split each row of ingredients by the comma and add it to the set of ingredients if it was not there. And then we change the set into data frame. Save it as CSV and clean the list of ingredients manually. Then we read the cleaned data into data frame and drop the useless column. This data frame of ingredients list will be useful later in the analysis part. It also made us realize that the data we practiced with was probably much cleaner than the real data, and that there is still more to learn about how to clean the data and extract the information we need. Well, another comforting thing is that I learned a lot about ingredients in English during this process. And the next time I ordered food at a restaurant, I may not have to get my heart rate up because I cannot read the menu. The following is the part of reviews table. Beyond rating, it also included recipe ID and profile ID. The recipe ID appears in both recipes and reviews table, so we will merge two tables on this column. The profile ID comes from the user, and although the same user may have scored multiple recipes, since our data is based on the recipe, not the user, we deleted the profile ID column. That's all of the work about data cleaning.
Hey guys, my name is Barry, and this section is all about data analysis. So in this section, we used exploratory data analysis to analyze the timing of recipes. Like first, we use dot head to see which columns and types the data has, and next we use the describe method to describe the data, and in this method it includes all the basics of statistical analysis such as mean, standard deviation, and minimum or maximum values. So from the result we can find out that the average cook time is longer than the preparing time, and if we divide the time into quartiles, the cooking time is still longer than the preparation time on every quartile. So from the perspective of standard deviation, the fluctuation of preparation time is the least, probably because the multiple recipes require the same materials. And in terms of the cooking time, due to the difference of the process, the variation of cook time is relatively larger, and as a result, the total time is also very turbulent. And next, we use the n-largest method to select the top 20 others who contributed the most recipes. So from the result, we can see that the top 3 others produced way more recipes than the others. So after that, we analyze the frequency of each ingredient in recipes. Like first, we put all the ingredients into one set so that we can save it into one CSV file for later use. And after that, we define one function using a for loop to iterate through each row and add them into the set. And then we transform the set into a data frame and print the head. And after some data cleaning method, we can define the function to retrieve how many times like each material was used. And then we apply the function into a new column and print the result. So finally, we use a bar plot to visualize the 20 most commonly used ingredients, and using the color spectrum to describe the differency and frequency. It's not hard to see that the sugar is the most frequently used in all recipes, whereas the juice and the vegetables are often neglected, which also tells the main source of people's unhealthy preference, like salt, egg, sugar, something that's easy to cause high blood pressure and diabetes.
Hey guys, this is Yining Ou. I'm going to introduce the next part. Let me introduce the second part of data analysis. Next, we mainly focus on cooking methods. We want to continue to analyze which cooking method are used more. Some dishes require only one cooking method and some require multiple types. So we thought of using get dummies to achieve the characteristics of each dish making method. We store the extracted cooking methods in a new data frame to facilitate the subsequent analysis. Shown here is a part of this data frame. Its index is the ID of the recipe and the column name is each extracted cooking method. Then we sum each column separately to figure out how many times each cooking method appears. The next step is to use Seaborn to visualize it. We still use a histogram to facilitate observation and analysis. Here we can directly observe that in this recipe, simmer is the cooking method with the most dishes. In contrast, poach and braise are used relatively less frequently. We also analyze the comments of the users of the recipes. According to the ID of each recipe, the 4 columns of average score, number of scores, highest score, and lowest score were added, and then the join method was used to obtain the information of a recipe, generate a new data frame, and get a list of similar to the top 10 most popular recipes based on the score. We also consider the impact of the number of the comments. If the number of comments is very few, it's not convincing to hold a data force. Shown here is that we use merge to get the information of the 2 data frames. Shown here are the 10 most popular recipes. At the same time, we also selected the top 10 most popular recipe makers based on the recipe author information in the new data frame obtained by the join method and based on the average score of user reviews and the amount of the score.
So in our last section is machine learning, which we build several decision trees in this last section. And we tried several approaches. For example, the first decision tree, we targeted the total rate count. The rate count is simply the sum of the total ratings for each recipes. For example, the first recipe have a total sum of 264 rating, which is pretty high. And however, when we move on to the decision tree results, we see less significance. Like most of the results, our MSE is very high. It's in 10,000s or 100,000s, and in addition, our sample size is very low. Like a lot of the sample size is only like in digits, in single digit. So we try our second approach to analyze the mean as average ratings. So on a deeper dive later on, we realize that the first decision tree failed simply because for popular recipes, there are just more people give ratings. For less popular recipes, there are just less. So that's why we use the mean rate as a target for our second decision trees. When we're looking at the results of the second decision tree, we can see several important attributes in this section, which are the total cooking time, the preparation time, and the total time, and also stew as part of the cooking method. For example, when you cook longer than 352 minutes, which is a little more than 5 hours, there is just a better rating associated with less than 5 hours. That could mean when you cook longer than 5 hours, a lot of things could go wrong, and you can get a good result when you cook long. And the second attribute would be the preparation time, which is 11 minutes. We can see that when you have more than 11 minutes, there is a better result as well. And for the third attribute, which is the total time, we can clearly see that when you cook longer than 60 minutes, which is 1 hour, you can also deliver a better result. And on the other hand, on the right side, we can see that when you don't include stew in one of your cooking steps, you will deliver a very good result as well. So our final conclusion for after analyzing this machine learning decision tree would be 4 parts. So for the machine learning conclusion, there are 4, I guess, significance we can draw from our decision tree. The first one will be the total cooking time. The conclusion is very simple. Try to find a recipe that take less than 5 hours in cooking. When you cook longer than 5 hours, a lot of things could go wrong that you may not be able to duplicate the result from the recipe. And the second would be try to prepare your meal for more than 11 minutes. You could simply find a recipe that's not too simple. That's how you can get something delicious and more than 11 minutes in preparation. And the third one would be the total cooking time. Follow the recipe that takes at least 1 hour to cook. So there's a general idea that when you cook longer than 1 hour, you can deliver better results, so your food can absorb more. And for the last conclusion, we draw that when you have more than 1 cooking steps in your recipe, just try to avoid stewing. There are a lot of ways, a lot of things could go wrong in a stew, and for a better result, if you really want to be a chef and follow the recipe, just try to avoid stewing. So that's the end of our group project. Thank you for listening, thank you for watching, and if you have any questions, please ask us. We're more than happy to give you advice in finding a good recipes and prepare a good meal. Thank you, everyone.